Hey guys, Nizzy here. This video will be about a quick review of the fight between Jake Paul and Nate Diaz, which dropped several hours ago. But before we get to the video, please consider clicking that like and subscribe button and that notification bell to be alerted of new content. Now let's get to it. Before we get into the details, let's first understand the significance of this fight. So this is essentially a clash between the new guard and the old guard. So in one hand, you have Nate Diaz, who represents the UFC, which uh, although young compared to other sports, is still a part of the old media and came out before streaming became a thing. Now, on the other hand, you have Jake Paul, who is one of the GOATs, who is one of the people who made being an influencer and YouTuber a thing. And you can just imagine uh, you have this older fan base versus new Jake's younger fan base. And the hype is just unreal. Let's go to the tail of the tape. So Jake is a younger guy. He's at least or more than 10 years younger than Nate, which gives him a tremendous advantage in a competition in which attrition plays a big factor in. Also, Jake is a heavy guy, heavier than Nate. Although they both had to be in certain weight range in the fight, Jake is just a bigger guy. And when you get hit by a bigger guy, you'll feel it more. Also, uh, Jake is more trained. Hear me out before you get mad at me. I mean, he's more trained in boxing. You guys have to understand that every minute he has spent in his in fighting has been in context of boxing. It's just how it is. Jake also has focus. I mean, being a very, very successful content creator, you know that you have to have focus to do that. And since he has also seen success in boxing, you know that he must have carried that same focus in that arena and made it to work for him. As for Nate, what else can you say about the guy? He's a veteran of many fights, both in and outside the cage. And in all of those fights, you know that that involved boxing. So it's not like he doesn't know about boxing. He's just not a specialist in it. But he is more experienced than Jake. He knows more about fighting. Although, as we have seen, it has brought him limited advantage under the strict rules of boxing. However, he's also scrappier, which means he doesn't give a fuck who he fights, when he fights, where he fights. He's just willing to get down with anyone at any time. And that gives him a tremendous advantage. Okay, as for the fight summary, so Jake is just a power puncher. In all of his fights, he hits hard and tends to drop his opponents. And this was no different. He hit Nate several times with big, heavy hits. Also, he was tremendously disciplined this fight. There were many times, especially in the later rounds, when Nick was staging a comeback for him to be goaded into playing Nate's game. But didn't do that and stuck to his game plan, and that made all of the difference. Also, his training showed, so many people expected him to gas out far earlier than he did, but he knew that the bout was 10 rounds and he made himself last 10 rounds. He knew what training camp he had to get, and he got that and translated that training into the fight. So that's just admirable. Also, Jake has shown superb gamesmanship. So as the fight progressed, he knew he couldn't outright stop Nate. So he knew he had to win by points. And once he got the lead, he knew how to keep it. He knew when to clinch to buy himself precious seconds in the round. He knew how to get out of reach uh, of Nate's longer reach. He knew how to get out of the range of that. He also knew how to when not to put himself in unnecessary risks. So overall, he had this level of awareness in the game that in the fight that shown superb gamesmanship. As for Nate, he was durable all throughout. He took heavy hits and did not lose composure except on that one time when he got dropped. But because it affected his equilibrium, but then he got immediately back up and back into the fight. He also staged a rally in the later rounds wherein he was closing the gap, and I personally believe that if the fight went on longer, that Nate would eventually win. But alas, fighting under the limited rules of boxing, he just couldn't bring all of his tools to bear, and he just couldn't stop a skilled, bigger fighter like Jake. That's it for the quick fight summary. If you guys are still here, thanks for dropping by, and as always, see you guys on the next one.